Tuesday, February 4th. We are almost at the end of the profound and mysterious letter to the Hebrews. And here we have this beautiful image of so great a cloud of witnesses. We know that in our lives we have been surrounded by so many women and men who witnessed to Christ for us, people living and dead, from every generation to this day. Do you have a favorite saint? One from childhood? Or as you grew up, was there someone whose faith you admired and who drew you to Jesus? A teacher, a relative, a friend? I know I do. And now, today, someone whose faith and example are a witness to Christ's love for you. We all do, or you probably wouldn't be reading this. Just say thank you today to each and every one of your own great cloud of witnesses. Both Jairus and the hemorrhagic woman have their eyes on Jesus in the midst of the crowd. This gospel passage puts us in a real day in Jesus' public life. You have to wonder what it was like for him to always be surrounded by crowds, so often that we also hear how he had to go away to pray. Like Jesus, we have all had experiences of crowds. Years ago, I had a frightening experience of being surrounded by a crowd in the narrow streets of the old city of Jerusalem. If you have been there, you know how narrow and noisy and crowded the streets of the souk are. In the midst of it, several men carried a stretcher above our heads. I really thought my husband and I would be trampled until we found a side alley to get away. Was it like that sometimes for those who follow Jesus? But perhaps you've also had experiences of crowds of joy, packed liturgies where everyone seemed filled with faith and all looking in the same direction at Jesus. Being in a crowd is always a powerful experience. What was it like to be in the crowd that day? We can assume it was noisy, people pressing against each other and perhaps yelling. How desperate the woman and Jairus were. How unkind Jesus' followers were, although certainly they were trying to protect him. She came up behind him from the midst of the crowd which was pressing on them both. And he answered her with mercy and healing. For Jairus, too, Jesus went with him into the crowd and commotion around his house, took him aside with those dear to him, healed his child with mercy and compassion. Who today, this very day, is stepping forth from the cloud of witnesses, from the crowd, to be that witness to you? Perhaps Bishop Mary Ann Buddy with her words of mercy, speaking truth directly to power, Jesus' truth of healing and mercy. Or a friend who unexpectedly offers you consolation and support. What Jesus and the hemorrhagic woman have in common is obvious: faith in the healing power of Jesus. The first part of Psalm 22 tells us all the good things that will come for those who praise the Lord and long for him, people like us. It is for us, then, to tell the coming generations of the Lord that they may proclaim to a people yet to be born the justice, mercy, and love he has shown. In these dark days, do we have that faith? Do we long for the healing, mercy, and justice of the Lord? With the strength of our faith, will we emerge from the crowd, supported by our own cloud of witnesses, and proclaim God's healing, mercy, and justice?